All right, everybody. It is another Wednesday night, so we all know what that means. It's 7 o'clock Central, 7:01. It is a time for conversations with Cougars, and we got one of the more recent graduates from Northview. We got Jack Martin, who's in Tuscaloosa. How are you doing tonight, Jack?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And if you guys don't know Jack, you're about to find out in the next 45 minutes or so. Jack is currently on the roster and in school in Tuscaloosa, so he's going to be kicking for the Crimson Tide this fall. But before we get into Jack's story, I got two things we got some housekeeping measures. First and foremost, Coach Floyd Griffin, happy birthday. One of the legends, one of the greatest coaches around. Coach, I know you're not going to see this live, but we hope that you're having a great day today and enjoy your special birthday. And we are going to get you on this show hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and that'll be a real treat for all of us. Secondly, I want to just very briefly touch on the trophies situation. I know there's been a lot of emotions in the last 24 hours. It's been in the news. It's been all over the place. Coach Parrish and several others have gotten all of the sports trophies that they could gather, jerseys, posters, whatever it was, memorabilia that was over by the dumpster and in the boxes. They're in a secure place. They're going to hold on to them, keep it in safety for now. Some decisions will be made in the upcoming weeks how to properly share them and store them and present them for the public. So y'all just sit tight. Just know that Coach Parrish has got them, and the state trophies are actually in the front lobby of Dothan High School, and they're on display. So we're putting that aside. We're going to say hey to Cam Cobb. Hey, Cam, how you doing, bud? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Golden Toe, Jack Martin. Jack, if you guys may remember, 2017 probably gave Coach Josh Parrish his greatest win at Northview. I want to go straight there, Jack. I want to talk about the Enterprise game. I want to talk about that kick because on behalf of all of Cougar Nation, we're always going to be thankful that you beat those guys because they are tough to beat.
I wouldn't say me. I wouldn't say I beat them, this whole team, but helped out a little bit.
All right, put all that aside. We're talking about you tonight, and Josh Parrish is with us. Hey, Josh, thanks for tuning in, bud. Set the tone for us, Jack. I want to get started early because I want to talk about this one. Down and distance, time of the game. Let's talk about it.
Really, I believe so. Like the first half, I'm almost positive we didn't score at all. I think it was like 22-0. I believe that's what it was. And then ended up, I actually had, talking about myself, actually, there were two snaps over my head. So one was a safety, and then the other was actually I tried to pick it up and kind of run and kick with it, and then kicked it out of bounds, and then they ended up giving away a touchdown. So
we can laugh about it now, but I'm sure you were not happy with that either.
No, no. So it was 22-0, and then I remember we went into halftime, and then really the attitude with the whole team, nobody was going to give up, and we're going to come out there and just get after it. So I mean, ended up coming back, and then I believe there was about a minute left, and we drove down the field, down two. So I was getting kind of nervous. This was my first opportunity, junior, getting kind of nervous about kind of kicking a game-winning field goal, and so ended up working out, and then went out there and just it was luckily a short field goal, so it was like I believe it was 28 yards, and Coach Parrish threw me in there, and then ended up knocking it through. So that was good. That was exciting. Probably my favorite moment at Northview still.
Well, Jack, there was no luck there, my friend. It was skill, and you've been practicing for that since you started to learn how to kick.
That's right.
I'm sure you have envisioned that moment as a true athlete your whole career leading up to then. When did you start kicking field goals, extra points?
7th grade. So that was when I first picked it up. I actually didn't want to start doing it. My dad kind of forced me into it because I was a big soccer guy. I know those soccer players are weird, some of them. But yeah, so I was a big soccer guy, and then my dad was like, he was thinking towards the future, so it's a lot harder to get a soccer scholarship. And then so he brought me out to some random field, and he was just kind of holding the football for me, and we were just kicking. And I ended up starting to like it after a year, after him forcing me to keep practicing with it. And I got a kicking coach out of Nashville who helped me for about a year, and that's when I found out after the 8th grade I was moving to Dothan, and luckily there was a kicking coach actually located in Dothan. His name's Brian Jackson, and he's an ex-kicker at Northview, from Northview.
Oh, not only is he a former kicker at Northview, we've had him on the program, and between the two of y'all and the Lopez brothers and Jinsu Park, who's coming on soon, we've had some fantastic kickers over the years in the 40-odd years. But, Jack, I want you to talk a little bit about the mental aspect of kicking. The physical aspect, we can see that. We know that it's technique. It's not just power. You've got to have certain technique, and all kickers are a little bit different. Just like all quarterbacks throw a little bit different. You know, it's the mechanics will get there. But I have found really any sport, any athlete, it's what's here is equally, if not more important. So talk to us a little bit about the mental aspect of kicking.
So kicking's honestly probably about 80% mental. So and really, I mean, all you need physically is just leg speed, and it's not really about how much weight you can lift and how strong you are. It's all it is leg speed. But towards the mental aspect, it's really being able to repeat things and stay focused and not let any distractions come into play. And so really when a kicker practices, it's completely different from practicing and being in a game, if that makes any sense. Because one, all eyes are on you, so you have to be able to deal with pressure and stay focused. And really that's about it, staying locked in and basically just focusing on the ball and doing what you have to do. And then all that practice and muscle memory will take care of itself.
I was going to say muscle memory is so important. I held freshman field goals in college, and I know that the kickers who I held for, you kind of have to be like a relief pitcher. If you have a bad kick, if you give up a big hit, you got to wipe that out because you got to have that confidence to come back to know that you can do it again. Is there a little bit of that's in there for you?
It's easy to say, just let one kick go and then move on to the next. Everybody says that. It's easy to say that, but in my opinion, and I don't know if Josh can remember, I know there was I think I missed 2 or 3 field goals my senior year, and then after those misses, I'll go and sit down there and I will not talk the rest of the game. I'll be mad, but no, I need to bounce back the next play. But it is, I'm guilty. I am guilty of that. I will be honest. I have a bad kick, and I'll let it bother me for a little bit. But
you know, people can see it from the stands, just like the coaches and the other team can. It's all about the way you're carrying yourself. It's your body language after how you bounce back. But Jack, I want to welcome, we got a couple of folks who rolled in who you know. We got Mike too, stadium announcer. He really enjoyed you that night from where he was sitting. That's
right. I bet he did.
He sure did. And I want to welcome a former classmate of mine, Stephanie Wax Beckett, whose son Henry kicks up in Ohio.
That's one of my good buddies.
I figured as such. So, hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining us tonight, and best of luck to your son up in Ohio this next fall. Jack, let's back up a little bit. You didn't grow up in Dothan, but you moved to Dothan, you said middle school?
That's right. So I lived in Dothan twice. So I actually went to Northside in elementary school, and then we ended up moving up to Huntsville, Alabama. And then I went to middle school there and then moved down here going into 9th grade.
Any rumors that Coach Josh Parrish recruited you out of Huntsville, and that's the reason why y'all moved south?
Actually, Coach Stewart was he was the coach my 9th grade year, but no, just moved down here because my dad's job.
Right. Well, how high flying were those offenses under Coach Stewart before Coach Parrish took over?
No, it was crazy athletes. We're pretty loaded. We were.
I'll tell you how old I am. I can remember Josh Hunter just running around the football field, little bitty dudes, and then just so proud of Josh and Hunter. For Josh, you know him as Coach. I knew him as Josh back in the day, but we'll call him Coach for tonight. But Coach Stewart and Coach Parrish, very different personalities, very different coaching styles. I know them both personally. They've both been on this show. But I want you to talk about a little bit of the dynamics of kicker and head coach, because frankly, you get left alone during practices and only like the last 15 minutes. And Lord help you if you miss an extra point when it's live. So talk a little bit about those dynamics, because you know, it's not everybody who has a kicking coach or a mentor in high school. There's certainly not dedicated kicking coaches per se, but a lot of this is on you by yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, that is right. So it's the same way in college too. You kind of have your own coaches, but the head coaches, they still don't know too much about kicking, and no coach really knows too much about it. But let alone in high school, it's kind of hard to find you a kicker at sometimes. So really, I mean, Coach Parrish and Coach Stewart, I was actually under Kobe Neenan my freshman year and kind of helped him out. He was dealing with injuries and kind of helped him out on kickoffs. And also really with Coach Stewart, it was kind of just, I was just there and he was just telling me to I guess just take notes on Kobe Neenan and kind of learn the ropes in high school. So I thank him a lot for kind of showing me the ropes. And Coach Parrish came in and he kind of just let it up to me. I mean, yeah, so we had a good relationship and all, and I'd go and hang out with him. But all the kicking stuff, I guess you can say I was my own coach.
Well, you know, the best coaches know when to back off and let the athletes do what they do
That's
rather
right.
than tinker. But I want to talk about maybe some of your sports influences from a kicking standpoint. As a kid, whether high school, college, or pro kickers who you tried to pattern your game after.
Actually, I'm not sure if none of y'all will really know him. So I kind of have the same field goal technique as kind of modeled after this guy named Graham Gano. He's in the league and played for the Panthers, and he also played for the Titans. And I believe now he's with the Buccaneers and just won him a Super Bowl. Ooh. So so I've kind of modeled after him, and me and him kind of look like on field goals and punting wise. Really, it's just kind of what's comfortable for me. And that's really with any kicker. You don't want to copy everybody, but I mean, because everybody's different, and what works can sometimes only work for you. So you're your own person and kind of model your technique to yourself and your skills. So that's really kind of be yourself and really what's comfortable.
Well, have you ever watched from back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s, any of the barefooted kickers?
I have seen some of that. I don't know if I'd be doing any of that now.
Nobody, I think it's outlawed now, but you need to go to YouTube and watch Tony Franklin and Russell Erskine. Even in the pros, these guys were punting and kicking, field goal kicking, barefooted. And some of these guys played up north, like in Philadelphia for the Eagles. Could you imagine?
I couldn't even do that. Too cold for me.
No kidding. No kidding. How tough must the top of their foot be from a skin standpoint? That would be crazy.
Right, especially that cold.
Oh, no kidding. All right, let's talk about middle school. Which middle school did you attend before coming to Northview? Was this?
I went to the Discovery Middle School up in Madison, Alabama. Okay. And played 7th and 8th grade football. I think I actually started out as a corner. Just kind of like went out there to kick, but they like forced me to play a position and all. So I was a little guy, and Coach Parrish and Coach Stewart still know that. In 9th and 10th grade, I was about 5'5", 5'6", 150 pounds. Yeah, so I hit a growth spurt pretty late. So I was a little guy just out there, and I kicked field goals. And I actually, in middle school, I only got one field goal attempt, and that was a game-winning field goal in some middle school championship. I don't know what it was, but that's my only time I got to kick.
Is that the one that put you on the map or started your journey?
Kind of got me hooked on football, really. So I saw some success and then kind of wanted to keep going with it. So
back in middle school, what other sports did you play? Was soccer, baseball, anything else?
Just soccer. So I grew up playing soccer probably since 3 years old.
And in the state of Alabama, I know that soccer season is largely in the spring for high school. But was there travel soccer that may
I played year round? So I actually played. I was planning on not even doing high school ball and just playing travel ball all year round. But then ended up kind of fell in love with all the guys at Northview and decided to go ahead and play high school ball.
Well, it's you move down to Dothan, and it's hard enough transitioning from middle school to high school where you live to begin with. But then you're moving 300 miles back home down to Dothan. And all of that change, I guess, in one summer. How long before you started school did you guys actually move to Dothan to get settled and get ready?
So I moved in, I think it was end of May, start of June. So it was right when, I think as soon as I got there, I believe football workout started. So that kind of helped me meet some guys. And then I also got with a travel soccer team in Dothan, the Dothan Shockers.
Okay. So who was your coach? Who coached the Shockers?
Coach Julian.
Okay.
I don't know if you know his son. His son actually was a kicker at Rehoboth.
Okay, very, very good. And at that time, I guess you were still trying to balance both sports and maybe hadn't picked one over the other. But you had mentioned how your dad got you out there and holding, I guess, for you and showing you a little bit of the ropes of kicking. What was it like that first little bit and coming straight from soccer? I know there's a lot of similar body movements, but it's vastly different to someone like yourself who is really honing his craft. How does one take the soccer mentality and apply it to the very precision that you need, for field goal kicking?
So actually, soccer and field goal kicking is they have a huge difference. So actually, when I go and I remember in high school when I used to go play soccer, I'd have soccer season and come back to kicking, get ready to prepare for the fall. It'd take me 2 months, honestly, 2 months to get back into the kicking group. So it'd be rough for a while, but really, I believe soccer helped me develop the kicking motion. And so it's not, I had that muscle memory down and just the kicking motion, but it's completely different, obviously a different foot or a different ball.
Yeah.
So really soccer kicking, there's a lot of swinging across, and kicking, you kind of want everything to go towards the target.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot more controlled, and soccer is almost see how hard you can kick it. And when you think in kicking, honestly, all you want to do is swing 80%. You don't want to swing 100%. You want to be controlled. And so there is a big difference, but a lot of people might not know.
Well, if you overswing your leg, if you're 90 to 100% of your full power, are you going to hook a kick? Or are you going to slice it? Or what typically goes wrong when you do that?
It can really just kind of spray all over the place. So it's not as consistent, because when you're swinging as hard, you can't hit the right spot of the ball, and you don't have full control over your body.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when you play golf, when you're swinging at your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you see the ball start spraying everywhere. So that's the same with kicking. There's a lot of similarities with golf and field goal kicking. So that's really it.
Most quarterbacks, present excluded, are decent golfers.
Mm-hmm.
What about kickers? How are they in the golf course?
A lot of kickers are pretty good. So I'm working on my golf game. Me and my buddies, we played all throughout high school, and I played. I went home this past weekend and played with one of my good buddies who graduated with me at Northview. So, but yeah, I'm working on it. Probably the best golf I played this past weekend, though.
Very good. Well, I got some folks. Will Garner says to tell you hello. One of the best players and people I've been around. Can't wait to watch you in the fall at Bama.
Yeah.
And Emery Gaunt Jones is watching. Thank you, Emery. Good to see you again. Guys, I'm talking with Jack Martin. Jack is up in Tuscaloosa, and he is on the Crimson Tide roster. But we're going to get to what it's like having Coach Saban watch you in a minute. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Jack, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process. Your story is public. You committed originally to South Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
but ended up at Troy for a couple of years, and now you are headed, or you're in at Capstone.
That's
So
right.
talk about, when did you first start, I guess, having that desire or think in your mind or have that confidence, hey, I can kick at the next level? And then when did the interest come around? Because I know, what you do in football is so unlike every other sport. I mean, every other position. It's such a specialty. You go to camps specifically for kicking.
Mm-hmm.
You get on the radar. But talk a little bit about your desires to play, and then when did the coach's interest start coming around?
So really in ninth grade, after actually watching Kobe Neenan, he went off to Tulane. So I kind of saw that, and I kind of wanted to go play somewhere. But football was still my second option. I was still in love with soccer, and also really when I started to fall in love with football was honestly after I hit my growth spurt, and because I was going to all these camps and I was so small and didn't have the leg strength of some of these other guys, and I was kind of down on myself after every camp because I'd be pretty accurate, but I couldn't kick it as high and far as some of these other guys. So I was like, is this something I really can do? Or I really didn't know. So probably my junior year, the summer before junior year, I went to a bunch of college camps, and that's when I honestly started to see some success, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And some of these college coaches were talking to me, and I was like, this is a real option for me. So that's kind of whenever I fell in love with it.
And I bet at those camps, that's a great way for you to measure yourself against some of the other guys who are your class, who are also doing the same type of kicking, whether it's punting or place kicking.
No doubt. So you get to see everybody in the country comes to one spot, and you compete. So you really get a good measure on yourself.
Well, tell us about that camp and where it's located, what it's about.
So actually the first camp where I started to see some real, I guess, kind of turn some heads was actually I went to a camp in New Orleans. It was for Tulane, and LSU was there. also. And so I got the kick against the guy who's actually kicking at LSU now. His name's Cade York, and we got to compete. Me and him actually made it to the end of the field goal competition, and so actually I did win. I did win, but he still was hitting a higher and further ball than me. And anyways, and then we went to punt, and then I punted lights out, and then the special teams coordinator came up to me and from LSU and was like, "Who are you? Where'd you come from?
Hey, Bud, how'd you get in here? We didn't know you're on the roster."
Yeah, they were like, "We've never heard of you before," or whatever. And I was just kind of gave my name and stuff, and they were like, well, "We've already offered somebody, and we didn't know that." So kind of out of luck, but that's kind of whenever I was like, "This is a real option for me."
Mm-hmm. I bet that put you on a real high too.
No doubt.
No doubt. And it probably gave you some real confidence. Now, place kicking or punting, which do you prefer?
Actually, I would have said place kicking until probably this past season at Troy. So I've always thought that's my best skill set, and then so I ended up having to punt at Troy this year, and I've always been, I wouldn't say a good punter at Northview, and so everything kind of started to click when I got to Troy my freshman year. So I started to kind of develop the skill of punting, and took over last year at Troy, did real well with it, and really all I can say is everything's clicking for me. Punting wise.
I want you don't know this, but I set the bar really low for future punters at Northview. I think I averaged like 34 yards per punt. And most of my punts, there was no angle, there was no turnover, none of that. It was more boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and hopefully it hits and rolls.
Well, I prayed for that every time. And we only got to play on turf one time, so I didn't get the benefit of any of that.
Exactly.
But Jack, let's talk about the development of the punter. Let's talk about it's so technique. It is so how you hold the ball, your leg swing. It's all of those things that the average fan sitting in the stands takes for granted because you've done it thousands and thousands of times. And they love you when you boom one, and they get mad when you shank one.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about that mentality. If the ball is wet, you got to do something different. If the turf is wet, all that. Go ahead.
Well, actually, to talk about how the fans, when you hit one good and then when you shank one, I've actually put one in the stands at Northview. So probably put one in a fan's lap, punting.
Nice. I never did that, so congrats on that.
Yeah, I know, so I got you on that. But really, punting's actually a lot harder than kicking. So when you think about it, kicking, you're kicking a ball that's not moving, and punting, you're kicking a ball that's moving. And so there's a lot more puzzle pieces that have to come together with punting in order to have a good result. And kicking's not near as many pieces you have to put together. So punting really, I would say probably the main thing in punting is exactly how you drop it. You have to drop it perfect every single time if you want to be successful. And so that's really the main thing. And you would think whenever the bigger steps you can take, the more power you have, but it's the complete opposite. So you want to be short and compact and keep everything under you. So punting's hard. Punting's a lot harder.
It is. And for those who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, it's all about timing and how quickly he gets the ball into his hands and off his foot. The quicker, the better most of the time, unless it's one of those specialty punts. And that's what I want to ask you a little bit about. There's all kind of punting techniques that you see, and certain punters do all kind of the rugby style kick, which drives me insane, by the way. But I guess each situation may call for a different type of a punt, whether it's putting it in the coffin corner or the high bounce, whatever it may be. First of all, what is your technique? Are you one of the traditional straight ons, soccer? How do you punt?
So I'm just traditional straight on guy, and what you kind of want to do is spiral the ball, so it goes a lot further. So it almost looks like you threw it. So you want to. It's hard to do, but you want to connect perfectly, like I said, the drop and all. So it'll spiral, and that definitely gets you probably 15 to 20 yards longer, and probably a second or two higher in hang time. So that's the main thing with punting is hang time. So you can get a 60-yard punt and it'd be 3 seconds in the air. Then that wouldn't be good. So the team has an opportunity to return it.
Yeah, because there's a term that you've heard on and or away from football as well as with football. It's called out kicking your coverage.
Exactly.
We know what the other thing means, but I want to talk about out kicking your coverage on the field.
That's right.
So share a little bit about the I guess the special teams coach's direction and your instructions going into a punt.
So really all coaches, especially at the college level, care about is really hang time and where you put the ball. So you can be a good punter, and if you can't put it on the sideline or on the numbers, then you're not going to get an opportunity to play. So they'll take a 30-yard punt on the numbers over a 50-yard punt down the middle. So it's all about coverage and field position. So you really want to prevent the other team on returning the ball. So that's really the main thing. You have to put it to the corners.
Let's talk about flexibility. How flexible are you?
I'm not the most flexible kicker, but definitely not stiff by any means. So actually, I worked with Jennifer Borland, and she has a Pilates studio. It sounds weird. I do Pilates. Do Pilates in Dothan whenever I get opportunities. So I did it all May, and so she kind of gets me right, flexible for every season. So I'll do that for probably a month or two before each season. So she helps out a lot.
What about have you gotten with any of the strength and conditioning coaches on campus? Do you work on your flexibility, your stretching? I don't know if you do yoga or whatever, but take us kind of behind the scenes a little bit of this off season. And now we're into June, the season's in 80, 90 days. Exactly. So what's it going to look like for you from a training standpoint this summer?
So I worked out and mainly did Pilates. I mainly did Pilates the whole month of May just to get my body right and almost kind of rest before, because June and July, you're beating your body up, working out, getting stronger. So I was going to take the month of May just to get flexible and get my body right. And something I've kind of learned from freshman year, I kind of wore myself out, honestly, before the season, my freshman year at Troy. So training too much and kind of uptight. So something I've learned now after being in college after 2 years is almost preserving your body, especially at Alabama, because we're playing 2 months longer than Troy. So
hey,
that's
whoa.
what to think about.
Not that he's throwing any shade. It's just
I'm not. I'm not, because I love Troy, but I mean, it is true. You'll be playing 2 months longer here at Alabama, so it's almost like a pitcher. You can't go out and hit or throw 100 baseballs at full speed every single day, or your arm's going to be thrown out. So it's the same way as kicking. So really, especially the month of June and July, before fall camp starts, because fall camp or I would say Alabama, but every school in the country is competition time. So that's 2 weeks of competing for the season. But this month, just kind of taking care of my body and working technical things.
Very good. Very good. Guys, I'm talking with Jack Martin. He's in Tuscaloosa. He has just recently signed with the Tide. He'll be on the roster and in school. Well, he's in school now, but he'll be playing this season. I want to welcome Alana Andrews-Gray. Thank you. Coach Fleming. Big props to Coach Fleming. Janaski is my hero. He is an awesome dude, and we appreciate him being here tonight. Jack, let's talk about you committing and signing. I know you originally committed to South, but you ended up signing and going to Troy. What was it about Troy that you enjoyed? What was it that made it special for those couple of years you were there?
So actually, I've been talking to Troy really since about 9th grade when Neil Brown was there. So I was talking with them, and then so really it was them and South I was communicating with a bunch, and then I ended up going to a kicking camp at South, and I performed well, and then they offered me a scholarship, and I was kind of waiting on Troy because it was close to home, and I kind of didn't know about this new coaching staff, so I kind of wanted to just see before I made a decision. And next thing you know, South said it was I either commit or I lose my scholarship. So I was like, I'm definitely going to take a scholarship at South Alabama, because at that point Troy has not offered me. So I ended up committing with South, and then the new coach, Coach Lindsey at Troy, he called me. I think it was like a few days after he got there to come on a visit and meet him. And so I decided to go to just kind of see how it was, and then I fell in love with it. And I love Coach Lindsey. So yeah, he talked to me and kind of sold it for me.
And then let's talk about your experiences playing at Troy. Did you letter for either or both of the years? What responsibilities did you have?
So my freshman year, all I did was kickoffs, and so I did that, and I did pretty good on kickoffs my freshman year. And then this past year, again, I was just going to do kickoffs, and then I ended up taking over punting. I think it was game 4 or 5. I took over and got my first punt. Actually, it was the second or third game at BYU, so that was awesome. That's something I won't forget.
Pause. How beautiful is Provo and that setting?
Amazing. So my parents actually couldn't go to that game because there was no fans because of COVID, so nobody in the stadium. But I was calling them all over the place and sending them pictures because actually our hotel, you'd open the blinds and then you can see the mountains because I guess Provo's in a valley almost. You're in a hole.
It is like the airport as well. It's all those mountains just frame that. Talk about punting in such a high altitude.
It definitely. So my first punt actually wasn't. The outcome was very good, but I mean it wasn't a good punt. I didn't think it was a good punt, but I mean obviously with the air and all, it ended up going 40 plus, or I'm not sure exactly, but it was definitely easier, especially in warm-ups. I believe I hit like a 62-yard field goal in warm-ups, and I was like talking to my coaches. I was like, well, dang, I wish I would have came out here to play.
He's strutting around. Look at that, coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Jack, wait till you come back home. We'll see what you can do.
Exactly.
All right. So you played at Provo. Where else did you go?
That's probably honestly one of the coolest places. And I did get to play my freshman year at Missouri. So that was cool, playing in an SEC school. So those are probably the top two. Those are definitely the top two.
Well, let's kind of fast forward a little bit to the tough decision you made to leave Troy and to head up to Capstone. Whatever you want to share about the recruiting or the discussions, we're all ears.
So at Troy, love my time at Troy, and I greatly appreciate them, especially giving me a scholarship to play there. And so I love Troy, so it'll obviously have a special place in my heart. And that's definitely part of my road, really. So Troy was 2 years of my football career, so I appreciate that. And then after talking with my family and my kicking coach, because Brian's a huge mentor for me. So after talking with them, we thought it was best, after weighing the situations at Troy, thought it was best to kind of, I guess, open my options up. And then luckily Alabama came in the picture. So that was awesome. That was awesome.
Well, let's talk about meeting and talking to Coach Saban. When did you first get the opportunity to talk with him?
Yeah, so actually, I'll go into detail about how it is here compared to Troy. So, but really, so after the recruiting process, so I got to talk with the new special teams coordinator at here at Alabama. Actually offered me a scholarship when he was at Rice University when I was in high school. So I kind of knew him, and then they actually have a coach that was at Troy my 9th and 10th grade year that knew me. So they kind of followed me and just kind of already knew who I was. And whenever I guess they saw I got in the transfer portal, they called me. So I got to talk with them. And then actually that was the day I got in the transfer portal. So I got to communicate with them and then talk with Coach Saban for, it was like 30 seconds. He was like, we want to give you the opportunity to come play for us. And we're excited if that's something you want to do. So that was awesome. But I mean, it still didn't hit me right then, because I was like, okay, just another head coach. But then everybody's like, you got to talk with Coach Saban. I was like, 30 seconds. But no, that was really it. So I've been communicating more with a special teams coordinator.
Very good. Well, let's talk about this fall. First of all, do you know your jersey number for the fall?
I do. So they gave me, I guess the punters here get the 90s. So I'm 95.
95. All right, you got to research that. Some famous 95s who wore the Tide jersey. Yeah. We got to come up with some names. I'm sure there's some awesome ones there.
I know. So yeah, I'm wearing number 95. Hopefully we can get that changed though.
Well, we'll see. But then again, you may do 95 proud. You may want to stay.
Exactly. I might want to stick with it. So who knows?
Well, what are your responsibilities for the fall? What are they going to have you doing?
So obviously nothing's guaranteed, especially anywhere. Even after you start, you have to compete.
Sure.
So nothing's set in stone what I'm going to be doing. Who knows? I might not even be playing. So really have to go in and compete. But really, they recruited me as a primary kickoff and punt guy. Okay. And so yeah, just come in and compete in that. And so there's, I believe, two other guys, one or two other punters here that I'll be competing with. One's name is Ty, and another one's Sam Johnson. So they're kind of around the Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area. So I'll be competing with them, and then obviously get to compete with the kickoff guy from last year, Will Reichard. So be able to compete with them.
Well, let's hope Will is too busy kicking field goals, and he'll let that let the kickoff responsibilities come to Jack Martin.
Exactly.
Well, Jack, we've got a little bit more time, and I appreciate you sharing your journey with us and a little bit of insight about what it's like to be a kicker in college. It's just, for those who don't know, it can be lonely at times playing on any level. But let's talk about a little bit about the extra points and field goals process a little bit more. You're going to have, who knows who's going to be the holder when you're a field goal kicker. In high school, did you have the same holder throughout those years, or did it rotate?
My 10th grade year, I had a different holder from my junior and senior year. So my holder, my 10th grade year was Nick McCarthy, and my holder my last 2 years was Addison Mims. So he helped me out a lot. And shout out to my long snapper too, Ethan Moore.
Well, I was headed there as well, because it's a trio, it's a pack. You guys travel as a group.
That's what we called ourselves, the trio.
Nice. I'll tell you, I'm such an old dude that in high school I didn't hold, but I did in college. But we were still using tees, kicking tees, the little squares.
That's right.
And frankly, from my standpoint, from a holder standpoint, I was glad to get rid of them. I hated those things because there was so much pressure to make sure you put it in the right spot on this 2x2 square. But let's talk about from a kicking standpoint. Do you prefer kicking off the ground? I mean, that's probably all you know. Did you ever kick off of a tee?
Actually, I did. So I started off kicking off the ground, and then I went and saw my kicking coach, and he was like, "Well, let's put you on a tee." So actually, so my 10th grade year, I used a 1-inch block, and then my junior and senior year, it's not even half an inch. It's literally just something. I used it, honestly, I wanted to kick off the ground, but Rip Hughes kind of left their grass pretty long. So I ended up using that just so it kind of gave me a surface to kick off of. And it wasn't even half an inch. So it was just something basically for the holder to place it. And it honestly gave him like a target to put the ball on. So I believe it helped him.
And maybe Addison was much better than I was, but I hated those tees. I really did, because if you ever put it on the side of the tee or too far front or too far back, it messes up your kicker because they've got an aiming spot. But anyway, that's fun. I do have a funny story I just remembered. I actually kicked field goals in 8th grade. I played at Girard. I was a tight end and field goal kicker.
Okay.
I have the distinction. It's something that I bet you never did. I kicked a field goal, an extra point that hit my snapper right in the butt and bounced straight back to me, and I could have caught it on the ricochet. That pretty much ended my field goal.
I'm sure it did. That means it's probably time to retire.
It was time to let someone else have that responsibility, move to another position where I didn't embarrass myself, family, or the team. But well, Jack, as we get close to closing, and I really appreciate your time tonight. I want you to talk. I suspect you've attended as an instructor before for younger kids. What do you tell those youngsters, those elementary school, those middle school kids? I'm a good kicker. I kick the ball real well, but I want to see if I can do this, whether it's punting or field goal kicking. Where do you go? What do they need to be thinking about?
So really, honestly, just the main part, a lot of kids, because really every kicker knows each other throughout the whole country. And a lot of people, so once you kind of get towards your junior year, some guys will start getting some college interests. And like, that's really the main part where a kicker can kind of get down on himself. Because if one's not getting any success with college coaches and one is, they kind of get down on themselves and like, oh, is this something I can do? And so that's really the main thing, is just honestly trust the process, because your time will come, and just really just worry about what you can control. And that's with anything, honestly, control what you can control, and everything else will play out. So that's honestly the main thing.
It is, with anything in life, particularly with sports, it's the desire, it's the will, the want to be there. And 90% of it, I've been told, is showing up, because that's your attitude, that's your want to be there. And then the rest of it is just based on what comes here and what comes here. But Jack, before we get out of here, let's see. Stephanie Beckett says that you're her second favorite kicker. and looking forward
come on now. Come on.
looking forward to seeing you play at Bama. And let's see, we got Stephon Davis. Jack, definition of when consistency meets hard work.
That's right.
That's about as good as it gets, a compliment wise, right there.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, Jack, we thank you for your time tonight. We wish you the very best of luck, and we're going to be rooting for number 95 this fall for the Crimson Tide.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And guys, as we do every Wednesday night, Conversations with Cougars, we're trying to just share the oral history of our great program. And please keep coming back. Post those photos. Recommend or invite your friends who played, cheered, managed, coached, or were in the band. I'm trying to continue to grow this group, and it's growing big time. But I love seeing all the comments and the questions and just sharing the shared experiences. So thank you again, Jack. And guys, y'all have a safe rest of your week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday night with Conversations with Cougars.